A signal in the void. The alien fleet drifted in a dead zone of space, far from any trade route or allied system. Their engines were destroyed, power was low, and rations were running out. The fleet commander, a tall, tired alien named Ral, stared at the blinking distress beacon they had sent days ago. No one had answered. They were the fleet of the Luran, a peaceful species not built for long wars or deep space survival. Their ships were made for scouting, science, and diplomacy, not combat. But they had been caught in a battle between two empires and left broken. Ral walked down the cold hallway of his main ship, the Hopewind. He passed crew members sitting against the walls, their eyes sunken, their breathing slow. Some were injured. Some hadn't spoken in days. Others simply waited to die in silence. They had one hope, the universal emergency frequency. A final signal had been sent 2 days ago, one last call before their power cells failed completely. But even if someone heard it, help wouldn't come fast. This sector was rarely traveled. Ral entered the bridge. His second officer, a quiet female named Lena, shook her head. No response, she said softly. Ral nodded, hiding the pain in his chest. Keep scanning. Anyone? Anything? As she returned to her station, Ral sat in the commander's chair, facing the empty starfield. He wondered if this was how their story ended, forgotten and alone in the dark, but then something strange happened. A light blinked on the console. A signal. Faint, but their Lena's eyes widened. Contact. Unknown source, fast approach. What species? Ral asked, standing. She scanned. No ID codes. Ship signature is strange. Not one of ours. The bridge lights dimmed slightly, a power-saving mode kicking in. Just then, the long-range screen lit up. Point 1 ship, massive, black as night. No Empire symbols. No diplomatic tags. No broadcasts. Ral's throat dried. Human. Lena whispered. It matches our old Terran patterns. But bigger. Everyone on the bridge went silent. Humanity, the species from the death world, the species that didn't always follow the rules. The ship moved like a hunter. Silent. Controlled. Every scan they tried bounced back as if the human ship rejected. All probing. Should we send a message? Lena asked. Ral hesitated. Wait. Let's see what they want. As the minutes passed, more signals followed. Not warnings. Not threats, just a message. We heard your call. Then came a second message. Do not be afraid. Help is here. Lena turned slowly. Commander, they are deploying shuttles. Ral leaned forward. They are boarding us. No, she said, shaking her head. Medical teams. Engineers. Supplies. Ral looked at the screen. The massive human ship hovered like a guardian above the fleet. Shuttles moved with perfect discipline, heading toward every Luran ship. There were no weapons raised, no harsh commands, only calm, careful help. The commander felt his knees go weak. He sat back, stunned. Why? He whispered. No one answered, but as the first human medic entered their ship, suited in strange armor, with a soft light glowing from their helmet, it became clear, humanity wasn't here for power. They had come for something else, something more terrifying to the Luran mind than war. Kindness. Asterisk. The kindness they didn't expect. The human shuttle docked with the Hopewind in complete silence. There was no sound of weapons charging, no voices shouting orders. Just the hiss of pressurized air and the slow clank of a ramp touching the ship's surface. Ral stood at the airlock, flanked by 2 of his tired guards. He expected soldiers. Maybe stern commanders. Instead, a single figure stepped through the opening, tall. Calm. Covered in dark armor that shimmered like steel under moonlight. But the human's helmet was open. Their face was visible. And they were smiling. Commander Ral. The human said gently. Ral hesitated. Yes. I'm Alex, the human replied. Medical Division. Earth Fleet. We are here to help. Behind Alex, several more humans followed. They carried crates, hovering drones, and small machines that looked advanced even by Luran standards. One of them approached a wounded guard, scanned him, and began treatment right there in the corridor. No questions. No hesitation. Ral blinked. You're not military. Alex chuckled. Oh, we are. But not today. Across the fleet, the same scene repeated. On every stranded ship, human medics moved quickly. Engineers repaired power systems and patched up life support. Food packs were handed out. Portable generators were set up. One human even handed out a warm drink to a Luran child and covered her with a thermal blanket. It was overwhelming. Back on the Hopewind, Ral walked beside Alex through the main hall. Why are you doing this? He asked. Alex looked at him calmly. Because we saw your signal. Yes, but Ral frowned. There was no alliance between us. No treaty. You could have ignored us. Alex stopped walking. We could have. The silence that followed said more than words. Ral looked into the human's eyes. There was something there. Not cold calculation. Not hidden motives, just a deep, worn strength. You're different from the stories, Ral said finally. Alex smirked. What did the stories say? That humans are dangerous. Reckless. Violent. Those stories aren't wrong, Alex replied. We are dangerous when we need to be. But we also know what it's like to suffer alone in space. We've been there. So when we see someone else in that dark place, we don't walk away. A call came over Alex's wrist device. Team 2 reporting, core power restored on ship Light Bloom. Medics stabilized 10 wounded. All supplies distributed. Ral was speechless. He had never seen an operation move this fast, or this efficiently. Later, on the main deck, the Luran crew gathered to see the human fleet. The ship that had arrived wasn't alone anymore. More vessels had come, quiet, large, and precise. They didn't come with fanfare. They simply formed a wall of protection around the Luran fleet, like guardians in the stars, and then, something even stranger happened. A small Luran ship powered up, the lights returned. Engines hummed and it lifted off, fully operational. Cheers broke out inside the Hopewind. Some of the crew even wept. Ral turned to Alex. Why send so many ships? Alex shrugged. We don't do half measures. The kindness was real, the efficiency was real, but so was the power. The Luran crew began to understand something deeper than kindness. Something hidden beneath the friendly tones and the soft smiles. These humans had the strength to destroy them, but chose to save them instead, and that choice was more terrifying and more humbling than any weapon ever made. The calm before the questions. Hours passed. The Luran fleet, once cold and dying, was now warm with light and buzzing with energy. Ships that hadn't seen power in days now had functioning life support. Food storage bays were full. Emergency rooms were working again. In every hallway, soft voices and laughter echoed. Luran engineers worked side by side with human crews. Even the youngest crew members, the ones who had once sat hopeless, now stood tall with new strength. On the Hopewind, Commander Ral sat at a round table with Alex and a few more human officers. The humans had offered more than repairs. They'd begun to coordinate a complete evacuation plan in case the Luran fleet couldn't be safely flown out of the dead zone. But Ral was troubled. You arrived quickly, Ral said, his eyes narrowed. Too quickly. Alex leaned back in his chair, calm as ever. You're wondering how we got here so fast? Ral nodded. This region of space is rarely traveled. It should have taken weeks for any ship to reach us. You came within hours. Another human officer spoke up, this one older, with sharp eyes and a badge that read Logistics Division. We have listening posts all over the outer sectors. Quiet systems. Some deep inside old asteroid belts. Most don't even know they exist. Ral leaned forward. You were already watching this region. Alex answered softly. We watch everywhere. We learned long ago that waiting for trouble isn't wise. We prepare for it. The room fell quiet. Ral looked at the hologram floating above the table. It showed a map of the Luran fleet, now fully supported by the human ships. Why help us? Ral asked again. We are not part of your alliance. You gain nothing from this. Alex turned to him, serious now. We don't always help because it benefits us. Sometimes we help because that's who we choose to be. Ral stuttered him. But you are warriors. The stories say you conquered entire systems when provoked. Alex's voice dropped slightly. And we still can. That sentence hit the room. Like a quiet thunder. It wasn't a threat. It was a fact, but Alex didn't speak it with pride or arrogance. Just honesty. The human officer beside him continued, "We know what it means to be stranded. We've lost crews in black space. We've fought battles in silence, without backup. That's why we come when someone calls out." Rel looked away. His voice softer. "You're not what I expected." "No one ever expects humans," Alex replied with a small smile. Meanwhile, in the hangar bays, something unexpected happened. One of the Luran ships, Starhope, began shaking violently. Its core had reactivated too fast and the cooling systems hadn't synced. Engineers scrambled as pressure built inside the main reactor. A blast was seconds away. Alarms rang through the nearby ships, but before anyone could act, a single human engineer dashed across the dock in a zero-gravity suit, carrying a strange glowing device. They leapt onto the side of the shaking ship, attached the device, and began typing rapidly. A shimmer spread through the ship's hull. Lights dimmed, the vibration stopped, everyone stared. One Luran technician whispered, "They just saved that ship in under a minute." Another added, "I didn't even understand what they used." Back on the bridge, Rel received a report. He looked at Alex again, now truly seeing the layers beneath the calm surface, not just warriors. Not just helpers, masters of preparation. "And they chose mercy," his voice shook. "We thought we were alone in this galaxy." Alex's answer came quietly, "You're not." And with that, the final ship powered back to life. Hidden power, quiet eyes. The Hopewine's control room was alive again. Crew members rushed from console to console, checking restored systems. For the first time in many days, the ship felt like a living vessel again. Commander Rel stood at the front viewport, arms crossed, watching the human ships. Dozens of them now circled the Luran fleet in perfect formation, like protective giants. Yet none of them boasted. No signals, no banners. Just calm and silent strength. Behind him, Lena entered the room with a data pad in her hand. "Commander," she said softly, "we've restored full power to 7 of our ships. 3 more will be flight ready within the hour." Rel gave a small nod. "Because of the humans?" Lena hesitated, then said, "They are unlike anyone we've ever met." He turned to her. "Yes. And that's what worries me." She blinked. "Worries you?" "They are helping us. But they are doing it so perfectly. So efficiently. As if they've done this hundreds of times before." Lena thought for a moment. "Do you think it's a trap?" "No," Rel replied. "That's what makes it more terrifying. It's not a trap. It's real. They are this capable, and they are holding back." Out in space, a human ship named the Resolute Dawn moved into a repair position over a damaged Luran cruiser. Its large robotic arms extended with surgical precision. It removed cracked armor panels, replaced fractured systems, and welded new sections into place using blue plasma arcs. All without a word. All with quiet grace. Luran engineers watched from inside their own ship, stunned. One said, "We've never seen machines like that. Not even in the core worlds." Another whispered, "If this is what they use for rescue, what do their war machines look like?" No one answered. Back on the Hopewind, Alex walked into the medbay where human and Luran doctors worked side by side. One injured Luran pilot, named Tal, lay quietly as a human medic adjusted a regeneration field over his wounds. Tal looked up. "Why did you really come?" The human didn't stop working. "We heard your call. But most species ignore calls from unknown fleets. You didn't even ask for payment." The medic smiled. "Because helping isn't about gain. It's about choice." Tal blinked slowly. "Then Earth must be rich in more than just ships." The human simply nodded. Later, Rel was invited aboard the human flagship, the Night Wind. It was larger than anything he had seen before. Its halls were lined with smooth steel and glowing panels. But there was no flash. No luxury. It was a warship, but built with purpose. Rel met the ship's captain, a tall man named Grant. Grant greeted him with a respectful nod. "You've stabilized most of your fleet." "That's good." Rel nodded. "Thanks to you." Grant turned toward the main display. The truth is, we've seen others fall. We've seen what happens when someone cries out and no one listens. Rel asked carefully, how many fleets like mine have you saved? Grant looked over, his voice was low. More than I can count. And how many didn't make it? A long silence followed. Too many, Grant said. That night, Rel returned to the Hope Wind. He stood once again at the viewport, watching. The human ships. Lena approached him. Is everything all right? Rel stared into the dark beyond. We used to believe strength was loud. Big cannons. Shouted orders. But these humans, they are strongest when they whisper. Lena looked out the window too, and she saw what he meant. They had come not to conquer, but to lift others up, and that, more than any weapon, was what made them powerful, quiet. Focused. Unshakable, and above all, dangerous only when they had to be. Asterisk. A shadow in the dark 3 days had passed since the human fleet arrived. The Luran ships were almost fully operational, their wounded nearly all healed, their food stores replenished. The crew's morale had returned like sunrise after a storm, but peace never lasted long in deep space. That morning, a signal cut through the silence. It wasn't human, and it wasn't friendly. Ral stood on the Hopewind's bridge as the message repeated, distorted and sharp, unidentified fleets. Prepare for surrender. This sector is now under the rule of the Durai Combine. Lena's fingers danced across the console. Signals coming from 3 vessels. Fast approach. High energy spikes. Ral felt his gut tighten. Show me. The screen lit up with 3 sharp-shaped cruisers. Black and red. The Durai were known across the spiral arm not for diplomacy, but for force. They attacked weak fleets, stole supplies, and left destruction behind. They must have picked up our distress call, Lena muttered. But they are late. Ral turned toward the screen. Too late. The Durai ship slowed to a stop just beyond firing range. They had expected broken vessels. Easy prey. What they found was a wall of steel, the human fleet, dozens of ships in perfect position, silent, still, watching. From the night wind, Captain Grant issued a single warning broadcast: this fleet is under Earth's protection. Turn back immediately. The Durai responded with laughter. Earth. You protect them. What is this, charity? And then, we'll take what we want. Stand down or be destroyed. Aboard the Hopewind, Ral turned to Alex. They are challenging you. Alex nodded slowly. They've made a mistake. Ral asked, you'll fire first. No, Alex said. We don't fire first. The Durai moved in, weapons charged, targeting. Systems locked. They launched a warning shot, a bolt of plasma that grazed the hull of one Luran ship. That was enough. The human fleet responded, but not with missiles, not yet. Instead, 5 human ships surged forward in perfect formation. They positioned themselves between the Durai and the Lurans, and then, without a sound, one of the human vessels, the Falcon's Edge, activated its defensive grid. A shimmering dome of blue light spread across the area, absorbing the next blast. From the Durai like it was nothing, inside the night wind, Captain Grant gave the final order: end it. In less than 10 seconds, the sky turned white, human weapons moved like lightning. One Durai ship lost power instantly, its engines shredded by pinpoint railgun strikes. The second tried to run, but a stealth drone had already slipped behind its engines and detonated, disabling its warp core. The third, the command ship, was surrounded by 3 small Earth frigates. Not large, not loud, but deadly. They didn't destroy the ship, they boarded it. Within minutes, the Durai crew was captured. No casualties. No chaos, just cold, controlled action. Ral watched the screen in silence. It's over, Lena said, but Ral shook his head slowly. No, he whispered. It's just begun. Because now he understood, Earth didn't just save them, they claimed the space around them, and anyone foolish enough to challenge that would face a force the galaxy wasn't prepared for. The message sent across the stars: the Durai were gone. 2 of their ships were dead in space. The third had been captured, its crew placed under lock aboard a human vessel. Not one life was taken by Earth's forces. Not even the enemies, and yet, across the stars, the message had been delivered loud and clear: Earth protects its own. And those it chooses to stand beside. On the Hopewind, Ral stood in the command center surrounded by silence. His crew watched the still blazing debris from the Durai ships drifting in the dark. There had been no war cry. No drawn-out battle, just precision. Purpose. And silence. Lena stepped beside him, speaking softly. We've been contacted by 2 other nearby fleets. They saw the energy spikes from the fight. Ral turned to her. What do they want? They are asking if it's true. If Earth really defended us. If the Durai were really taken, without a single loss. Ral exhaled slowly. Tell them yes. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Nightwind, Captain Grant stood in a dim room, facing a wall of holographic screens. Messages flooded in from across the sector. Curious eyes were watching now. Some were afraid, some were angry, and others were quietly grateful. Alex stood beside the captain, arms folded. You know the Council will be watching this. They never wanted Earth to interfere in border space. Grant didn't look away from the screens. The Council ignored that distress call. We didn't. Alex nodded. Still, they'll say you acted without orders. We did, Grant replied. Because kindness doesn't wait for permission. Later that day, Ral and a few other Luran captains were invited to a gathering aboard the Nightwind. It wasn't a formal event. There were no political speeches or signed agreements, just food, music, and quiet talks. Humans and Lurans sat side by side. Soldiers spoke with engineers. Doctors exchanged knowledge. One young Luran pilot even asked a human about the Earth beverage called coffee, which he said smelled like burnt metal but tasted like power. For many, it was the first time they laughed in days. Ral sat with Alex at the far end of the hall. You didn't have to come, Ral said. You didn't have to fight. Alex stirred his drink. We don't always wait to be asked. Ral looked down. What happens now? Alex smiled gently. That depends on you. Ral tilted his head. What do you mean? We won't force an alliance. We won't demand tribute. We helped because you needed help. That's all. Ral studied him carefully. Then what do you want? Alex leaned in. His voice was quiet. We want the galaxy to remember something. That humans may come from a death world, but we don't always bring death. Sometimes we bring hope. Ral sat back, stunned. The following day, the human fleet began their departure. Most of their support systems had already been transferred. Repair drones returned to their hangars. Medical staff left behind full kits and instructions. No tech was demanded back. No strings were attached. Before leaving, Captain Grant sent one last signal to the entire sector. To any species who watches, if you are stranded, broken, or forgotten, Earth hears you. If you rise in violence, Earth will stop you. But if you need help, we are listening. And with that, the Nightwind vanished into slip space, gone without a sound. Ral stood on the deck of the Hopewind, now fully repaired. As his crew prepared to jump out of the dead zone, Lena joined him. I didn't believe the stories before, she said quietly. About Earth. Ral gave a small smile. Neither did I. And now, he believed something even more powerful, that the most dangerous thing about humans wasn't their strength. It was the choice they made, to use that strength for others. Asterisk. Echoes of Earth's mercy. The stars were quiet again. The dead zone, once a graveyard of drifting wrecks, was now empty. The Luran fleet had left, powered by repaired engines, healed minds, and renewed hope. They had returned to known space. Escorted partway by Earth ships before the humans slipped away without waiting for thanks, but their impact remained. Across the border worlds, news of what happened spread like wildfire. The Durai were neutralized in seconds. No one died, not even the enemy. Earth sent no demands. Just help. Governments called emergency meetings. Military leaders whispered about ship designs and weapon accuracy far beyond anything they had seen. Some feared Earth had changed, but the truth was simpler: Earth hadn't changed. The galaxy had finally seen what Earth really was. In the capital system of the Luran Union, a crowd had gathered to see the Hopewind return. Families cheered. Officers saluted. Leaders gave speeches. Yet through it all, Commander Ral stood in silence, remembering the quiet moments more than the loud ones. He remembered Alex's calm voice. He remembered the way human engineers moved with purpose. Without boasting. He remembered how no one asked for anything in return. At the council tower, Ral was called to speak before the assembly. He walked to the center podium, faced the representatives, and took a moment before speaking. I know what you all want me to say. You want me to tell you that Earth is now a threat, a power to watch. You want to know how they fight, how they win, how they build ships faster than anyone else. He paused, but that's not what matters. The room fell still. Ral's voice was quiet, but steady. What matters is, they chose to save us. When no one else did. They could have ignored us. They could have waited for us to die. Instead, they arrived. Helped. Fought. And left without asking for reward. The assembly murmured. Some looked uncertain. Others looked ashamed. Ral continued, if Earth had wanted to claim us, they could have. But they didn't. They showed us that strength is not only about force, it's about mercy. Discipline. Restraint. One council member stood. Are you saying we should trust humans completely? Ral looked him in the eyes. No. I'm saying they've already proven. They trusted us. When no one else would. The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. Elsewhere, in a quiet hangar of the night wind, Alex watched the stars through a reinforced glass wall. Another mission done. Another call answered. He didn't need applause. He didn't need medals. He just wanted one thing, that when the next voice cried out in the dark, Earth would still be there to hear it. Captain Grant stepped beside him. They are starting to talk, Grant said softly. Some worlds want to learn from us. Now. Others are afraid. Alex nodded. That means they saw the truth. Grant raised a brow. And what truth is that? Alex's voice was calm, that humans may come from a world of storms and fire, but we choose to build. To save. To stand with those who fall. And far away, in the deepest corners of the galaxy, where silent signals drift through cold space, a new call for help was heard. It was faint. It was desperate, and Earth's fleet turned again, without hesitation, because kindness is not weakness, kindness is choice, and humanity had already made theirs. Asterisk.